Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today we'll be looking at how to arrange fractions in ascending or descending order, which is also known as ordering of fractions. Now, for one to be able to correctly arrange fractions in ascending or descending order, one needs to first of all be able to identify which of the fractions are larger or which of the fractions are smaller. And on the board, you can see we have some examples of some fractions that will help us, and applying the method which we need to know in ordering of fractions. Like in the first column, we have like fractions, second column, we have unlike fractions, and in the third column, we have what is called the LCM method. So let's go straight to the very first column where we have some fractions. And as you can see, the fractions have similar denominators, and because they have similar denominators, they are known as like fractions. So if you are given a set of fractions in which they all have the same denominator, and then you're asked to arrange the fractions in an ascending order. Now, ascending order means from the smallest to the largest. How are you going to identify the larger fraction and then the smaller fractions? Now, what will guide you will be their numerator. And in mathematics, the fraction that has the smallest numerator in which it is a part of like fraction, that is, as we have on the board, we have a set of like fractions, and we want to know which one is the smallest, which one is the largest. All we have to do is look at the numerator. The like fraction in which its numerator is the smallest will be the smallest fraction, and the like fraction in which its numerator is the largest will be the largest fraction. So with what we have on the board, 2 over 8, 3 over 8, 1 over 8, 5 over 8, 1 over 8 will actually be the smallest fraction, while 5 over 8 will be the largest fraction. So if we want to arrange this fraction in an ascending order, we start with the least one, which is 1 over 8, we have 2 over 8, we have 3 over 8, and we have 5 over 8. But if we want to arrange it in the descending order, then we'll start with the largest fraction, which is 5 over 8, then the next, which is 3 over 8, then 2 over 8, then 1 over 8. So this is how you're able to arrange like fractions in ascending or descending order. Now let's go to the next example on the board. We have in the example two fractions, 3 over 4 and 6 over 16, and you can see that they are both unlike fractions, and they are unlike fractions because the denominators are different. So if you're asked to arrange these fractions in ascending and descending order, you first of all have to determine which of them is smaller than the other and which of them is larger than the other. And how do you do that, especially when they don't have the same denominator? Well, one way you can do that is to convert both of them to like fractions. That is, you can convert both or one of them to like fractions. You convert one, like in this case now, you convert 3 over 4 so that it will now be a like fraction with 6 over 16, so that it will have the same denominator as 6 over 16. And to do that, first of all, you have to determine the HCF, which is the highest common factor of 4 and 16. And when you determine the highest common factor of 4 and 16, you're going to get 4. 4 is the highest common factor of 4 and 16. Then now you take this 4 and you multiply both the numerator and the denominator of 3 over 4 by 4. Now give you 12 all over 16. You look for the HCF of 4 and 16, that will give you 4. You now take 4 and multiply the numerator, which is 3, and multiply also the denominator by 4, which is now giving us 12 over 16. And for those of us that are familiar with equivalent fraction, you will know that 12 over 16 is the same thing as 3 over 4 when reduced to its simplest term. If we reduce 12 over 16 to its simplest term or lowest term, it will give you 3 over 4. So what we've done actually is convert 3 over 16 to 3 over 4 rather, to 12 over 16. But its value still remains the same. So now we can now write 12 over 16 and 6 over 16. 12 over 16 is the same thing as 3 over 4, but we just change it a bit so that this will now appear to be like fractions. So now from this we can determine which is the biggest fraction and which is the smallest fraction. So by looking at it, we can see that 12 over 16 is the biggest fraction, while 6 over 16 is the smallest fraction. So now, if we're asked to arrange this in an ascending order, we'll have the smaller one, 6 over 16, and then we'll have 3 over 4, which is the largest fraction. If we're asked to arrange it in a descending order, then we'll put 3 over 4, which is the largest, first, and we'll put 6 over 16, which is the smallest, next. So that is how we can arrange two unlike fractions in a descending or ascending order. Now we have another method which I'd like us to see, which I call the LCM method. You can see that these fractions that are here are all unlike fractions. They all have different numbers as their denominators. Now, if you're asked to arrange these numbers in ascending order, how do you determine which of them is the larger and which of them is the smaller and which one of them follows? So I want to apply a method which I call the LCM method, and it's something that you need to pay proper attention to so that you're not going to get lost and you'll be able to avoid making errors and mistakes. So in applying the LCM method to arranging fractions in ascending order, the first thing you should do is to find the LCM of all the denominators. Find the LCM of all the denominators. And for those of you that have seen my video on LCM, you'll be familiar with this method, which will require us to divide all the numbers by prime factors until they are properly and completely divided. So you create a table, you take the denominators and put on the right hand side, and you begin to divide them with prime factors. Starting with 2, 2 divided 2 is 2, 2 cannot divide 3 without the remainder, so you bring the 3 down. Same thing for 5. Then 2 divided 4 is 2. You also put 2 again because 2 can divide at least one of them, so you bring 3, 1 down, 3, 5, and 2 divided 2 is 1. The next one is 3 because 2 can no longer divide. You bring your 3, 1, bring 1 down. 3 divided 3 is 1. 3 cannot divide 5, so you bring 5 down and you write your 1. The next one is your 5. Write your 1, 1. 5 divided 5 is 1, and then 1. So now the LCM will now be equal to 2. Multiply all these numbers here. 2 times 2 times 3 times 5, which is now equal to what? 60. So the LCM of 2, 3, 5, and 4 is 60. Now that we know the LCM of the denominators of all the fractions, we now draw the line underneath them and we put the denominator underneath the line. Now you also have to be very careful in this next step, because this next step will help us to determine which of the fractions is the smallest, which is the largest, and the ones in between. So now that you've gotten the LCM of the denominators, like I said, you draw a line, you put it underneath the line. So now what you do is that for each of the fractions, you divide the LCM of all the denominators. You divide the LCM of the denominators by the denominator of each of the fractions, and then you multiply the result by the numerator. Now look at how we're going to go that way about that. First, we start with this first one, which is 1/2. So we now say 60 divided by the denominator here, which is 2, which will equal to what? 30. Then 30 times 1 is equals to 30. You write that answer underneath 1/2. You see that? Let's do it for the second one. We now say 60 divided by the denominator here, which is 3. That will give you 20. Then 20 times the numerator of this fraction, which is 2, will give you 40. Then write 40 underneath here. Do the same thing for this one. We have 60 divided by 5 is equals to 12. Then 12 times its numerator. Its numerator is, which is 3, will give us 36. So write 36 under here. And lastly, we do 60 divided by 4, which is equals to what? 15. 15 times the numerator, which is 3, equals to 45. Okay, now we can see that we have some numbers above the line that we drew, and these numbers is now showing us which of the fractions is the smallest and which of the fractions is the largest. So now, based on the numbers we have here, we can see that 30, which is the smallest number out of the numbers on the line, is the smallest number, and it's showing us that 1/2 is the smallest fraction, while 45, which belongs to 3/4, is the largest number, which means that 3/4 is the largest fraction. So now if you're asked to arrange the fractions here in an ascending order, which is from the smallest fraction to the highest fraction, starting with the smallest fraction, which will give you 1/2. The next one, the next highest number after 30 is 36, which means that 3/5 is the next one, which is 3/5. After 36, we have 40, which means that 2/3 is next. And lastly, we have the largest fraction, which is what? 3/4. But we're asked to arrange it in a descending order. Then we start from the largest fraction, which is 3/4, then 2/3, then 3/5, then 1/2. So that is how you use the LCM method in determining the arrangement of fractions, mostly unlike fractions, how you arrange them in ascending and descending order by using the LCM method. And with that, we'll come to the end of today's video. If you like this video, it's proved to be very helpful, do give us a thumbs up and a like, and also subscribe. If you have any question, you can drop it in the comment section. Also hit that notification bell to notify you whenever I drop any of my videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.